Welcome back to the Horn Takes podcast. I am Sean Redfern. Joining me today from the cheap seats this morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, but man, woo. Anyhow, joining me from the cheap seats this morning, Michelle Lynn, once again. Thanks for joining, Michelle. How we doing this morning?
All black. You know it's a funeral. Rest
Yeah.
in peace to our season. It's a postmortem.
Yeah, this is a postmortem, and that's okay. So I think I don't know. I think a lot of people deep down inside saw this coming. They just didn't want to believe it, and I can totally understand that. But yeah, rough game last night over in Athens. Before we get into all that, check out our friends over at ChinookSeedery.com. 8 great flavors, the best seeds ever. Texas company. They love them some college baseball. Good company to support. I mean, you're a Texas company that loves college baseball. I can support that, and I think you guys should too. Head over there, use our promo code HornTakes, get 10% off your order. If you're listening to us this morning, hop in the chat. This will be 10 thoughts, and it will be unfiltered, at least for me. I can't speak for Michelle, but it'll be unfiltered for me for sure. Before we get to the 10 thoughts, though, let's go back to our keys. We had 6 keys. You had 3. I had 3. They were all different. Go back over your keys, Michelle, and let's see if Texas did any of that.
So my 3 keys, I think number 1 was offensive line, which, I mean, they weren't great, obviously, but I mean, it wasn't their worst game either. Number 2 was Arch needed to outplay Gunnar Stockton. I mean, he played well. Like, I thought he had a great game. Of course, the box score doesn't show it. Even the interception, it was a clear hold on DeAndre Moore. Should have been called, but, is what it is. And then number 3 was just the luck, and the football gods needed to be on our side. They clearly weren't. You know what I mean? There was no swing that went our way. And I knew that just from the coaching and the talent perspective, like, we just needed to have the chips fall. And they didn't. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, going back to your first 2 keys, I thought Arch played really well. I thought, given what was happening during that game, and just sort of, again, how the game evolved from a game plan perspective for Texas, it all got put on Arch, and I thought he played really well. I thought the offensive line played pretty well, despite the fact that, once again, the game plan evolved away from some of the things that had been working the last 2 games, and it evolved away from the running game, which is something that continues to happen over and over again in these types of games, for whatever reason. So yeah, I think they hit on 2 of your 3 keys, for sure. My 3 keys.
I would say Arch did not outplay Gunnar Stockton.
He didn't outplay him, but he played well enough to win.
He played well enough, for sure. Yeah. Just wanted to get that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. My 3 keys were: don't overthink the offensive game plan, help the O-line, help Arch, get in the spread, run the ball, throw the ball. You can do all the same things you can do out of a 2 tight end look. You can do that out of a spread look. And my jaw almost hit the ground when I saw him come out in 12 personnel. And I think, I haven't gone back and rewatched. To me, it looked like pretty even 50-50 split between 12 and 11 personnel for the game, which is way too much 12 personnel to me.
For sure.
We've seen it this team just does not execute it well. So yeah, I was disappointed to see that. And I think we saw, as the game wore on, you saw Georgia really be able to attack the offensive line out of that 12 personnel. I said they got to stop the run. I don't think they really did stop the run. I haven't looked at stats. I don't think Georgia ran wild on them, but I think they did enough, and when they did, it was effective. And so I would say they didn't do that. And then I said win 3rd down. I think, again, haven't looked at the stats. I feel like defensively they were pretty good on 3rd down, but I think offensively they were just awful on 3rd down. And so much of that to me was drops early on in the game. They had plays. They just did not make catches, did not make plays. So that was my 3 keys. So if you look at our 6 keys, really didn't hit on any of those things. And so we are geniuses, and it's going to be tough to win football games if you don't do some of those types of things. I'm just joking
Right.
about this thing, but yeah. So going back to the keys, we didn't look good. Prediction, Michelle, I believe you had Texas winning this one 28-20.
I said 28-24. It was a hope and a prayer. I said I was picking with my heart, and
yeah,
it was bad.
yeah, and I said I like Texas to cover, but I think Georgia gets it done 24-20. We were both off. I tweeted out last night at some point I would have loved for us to have scored 20 points.
Oh yeah.
At the end of that one. But I did say it, and this is what I really did think that the PK and Mike Bobo matchup was going to be a huge sort of kind of behind the scenes piece of this game, and I think it absolutely was. I think Mike, and we'll talk about it later in 10 thoughts, but I think Mike Bobo clearly outclassed PK last night, and it wasn't even. It was just simple. It was just simple things. So we were both wrong on our predictions. Michelle, let's get into 10 thoughts. I'll let you have the first thought. Hit us with it.
I just want to give a disclaimer before I share my 10 thoughts. Any feedback I say in terms of like, we need to go to the portal, I don't put any of this really on our personnel. I think so much of it is just on this coaching staff and on how they looked at this roster in the offseason. Like, for example, one of my first thoughts is, of course, all of the drops. In my opinion, Wingo is a great wide receiver, but can you imagine how much better he would be if he was not having to be wide receiver one, and instead we got the guy that A&M got, who is like a bona fide threat? Because right now we're forcing Wingo into a role that I just don't know if he's necessarily suited for it, at least at this point in his young football career. And so just imagine how we would look if Wingo's wide receiver 2, and then you've got Emmett Mosley and Parker Livingstone in more like the supportive roles. I mean, it would just be so much, everybody could breathe. And I feel like that in the wide receiver room especially, but kind of across the board, I'm just going to focus on the wide receivers right now, is just really what we're feeling on this team is guys having to be in these roles that, because of the way we evaluated the team in the offseason, they're just not ready for it. And it just showed in every single way. We just didn't play smart football. And I think just when you are in a big game on the road and you're having those critical drops on third downs where it's hitting you in the hands, like, I'm sorry, if it hits you in the hands, you've got to make that catch. And, something that was pointed out to me on Twitter was the fact that a lot of our wide receivers outside of Xavier Worthy, who was a unicorn, A.D. Mitchell, Matthew Golden, those were guys who transferred in. Where is our wide receiver development? Where is our wide receiver development for, I think 2 5-stars who haven't gotten a meaningful snap in any of our conference games or big non-conference games, against Ohio State at the beginning of the season. So to me, like, that's a huge red flag in terms of coaching our wide receivers. Like, what are we doing? You're telling me that this is the product on the field, but we've got these guys on the bench. Well, what does that say about their evaluation then? Right. And I haven't even gotten a chance to see them. So that's why, again, like, I'm not trying to come for the players. I love our team, and I know they are doing their damn best. And so that's why, like, for me, my criticism for like the wide receiver room as a whole is really tailored towards the coaching staff, because I just don't know how that's the product on the field this year.
Yeah, it is interesting that I thought one of the things I liked about Sark when he first got here is he talked about, I don't care what their experience is. If they can play, they can play. We'll play them, which was a big change from like the Mac Brown era. Mac Brown was, I mean, you had to be like an absolute stud. And then even then, like we saw it take time to get Cedric Benson on the field. We saw it take time to get Jamal Charles on the field as a freshman. And so he just had that lack of trust with incoming freshmen. And I can understand that. But Sark has traditionally, at least at Texas, not been like that. But then this year we're seeing it. And I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that, but certainly there are problems when your quarterback has delivered as many passes as Arch Manning has delivered this year, and you just get stone hand drops. That's rough. But then you flip it. Wingo had great games the last 2 games. He ended up making a touchdown in this game. I mean, it's just so it's like such a polarizing thing, that wide receiver group. So
right. And that's kind of why for Wingo I go towards, imagine if there wasn't as much pressure on him, if he could be looked at as more like the supplemental main guy. Because I just think right now, if Wingo can't catch all of those things, we're screwed. So like I just feel like if he wasn't having to be in this wide receiver 1 role, things would look a lot different, But he is, because that's how they evaluated everything in the offseason, So it's like I just don't know, because he clearly he's so talented. And that's why I wanted to give that disclaimer. Like, I'm not trying to, really dump on our players, because I know he has it in him, but he's young. I mean, he's only a sophomore, you know what I mean? So I just think he just hasn't been put in a good position, or like at least what they're having him do, he just wasn't prepared for it, for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think Ryan Wingo, I don't know the mental state of him. I think a lot of this is mental for him, for whatever reason, but he just needs to go like back to the drawing board and just, I mean, he needs to catch like 300 balls a day after practice out of the jugs machine, and just get himself confident that he's going to do that. To me, it's just a confidence or mental thing. I don't know. My first thought, and this is going to probably be the only positive thought, and I touched on it a little bit. Arch Manning continues to take beatings and hold this team, put this team on his shoulders, and figures out a way to keep battling and tries to lead this team. And I just got to wonder, like, when is somebody going to follow him? I mean, he's doing every single thing you want a quarterback to do for this offense. He's delivering passes under pressure, and he's not perfect. I'm not trying to say he's the greatest quarterback that's ever happened.
Right.
But he within like what is going on in the games, he is clearly like one of the only bright spots that's consistent throughout games now. So I wanted to just give a shout out to Arch Manning. He has taken a lot of shit this year from a lot of people, including like mainstream media, which is just wild to me, but just a lot of unnecessary things with Arch Manning. But I thought he's responded like outstanding this year, given the position he keeps getting put in, where his offensive line, is struggling to protect just because we're not making it easier for them to protect. So he stood in there and made plays, and Georgia got after his ass again last night, especially late in that game. And again, he just continued to go. So I got to tip my cap to Arch Manning.
Sure.
He deserves like someone around him to like step up and take some of that load off his shoulders.
Yeah, I thought he played a great game, very composed. Like, he didn't let the moment get too big for him. And people who don't watch the game are probably like, oh, look, he sucks. He only scored 10 points. But it's like, man, don't get it twisted. He is the best part of this team. Like, and that's including the defense, because there are clearly some problems on the defense right now. I mean, I thought he really showed up. He played with a lot of heart. He has all season long. And I'm really proud of his growth, and I'm proud he's our quarterback. Like, I hope he comes back next year. I hope he doesn't hit the portal, because I know he'll have success somewhere else. But the Longhorn fans that don't think that, they're in denial. So I really think he has shown so much character, and I've loved all of the improvements to his game. And I think one thing I actually talked with on the phone with my sister this morning is how a lot of times the quarterbacks in the NFL that succeed were in pretty rough college situations. Like Patrick Mahomes, he had to carry that team on his shoulders. They never were quite good enough because it's just impossible for only one player to, be there. Josh Allen at, I think it was Wyoming. And then you've also got, Jared Goff at Cal. I remember he was always getting obliterated in college. And all of those guys have gone on to be successful, go to AFC championships, or, even play in the Super Bowl, of course, with Mahomes, win them. And I'm not saying that Arch Manning is going to be those three guys, but it bodes well for a future in the NFL if you are used to adverse conditions, because with free agency and how the draft works, usually, you're not going to have a stacked roster like in Alabama or Georgia of the past. Right. And so I think like for his long-term future, I do think that there is a lot of value for him in having to like see what it's like to not have everything go your way. But it's just so frustrating as a fan, the fact that we knew there was a small window of time for us with Arch Manning as our quarterback, and just to see how little was done to really utilize that in his first year starting is really disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking 10 thoughts from Texas's 35-10 loss to Georgia last night over in Athens. Jump in the chat, drop your comments, questions. We'd love to interact with you guys. We got Joe with a chat right now. I was bashing Arch earlier this year. He's really improved, best player on the offense. 100%. I agree. He's clearly, I don't know if he's the best player on the offense. And I mean, to me, that's like it's a subjective term, best, right? Yeah, but he's certainly the most consistent player on the offense at this point in the season. So if consistency is key in your world, then yes, I would 100% agree that he is the best on this Texas offense. Everybody else, hop in the chat. Let us hear from you. All right, Michelle, thought number 2. What do you got?
The defense, it's really baffling. I know that we lost some amazing players. We lost Thorpe Winner, Jado Barron and Makuba. We lost some weapons there, but man, it's kind of mind-blowing that we've kind of regressed there as the season has gone on. I feel like Arch and the defense have gone on opposite trajectories, and I would have thought that they would have all improved along the way. So I don't even really know what it is about the defense that has changed as the season has gone on, but it's been really, I think they've had 42 points scored against them the past 2 games in the fourth quarter alone.
Yep. That was one of my thoughts.
I get it that the Vanderbilt game, there were questionable calls, but let's call a spade a spade. Okay. Like 42-0. That's hard to do. So that to me is a little baffling. And I was even watching Rod Babers, who was, on the teams in the 2000s. I was watching his sort of post-game show, and he was just saying how he can't even identify exactly what has gone on from like a communication standpoint the past few weeks. Because of course me included, I was like, oh, we're going to get Michael Taft back and Jelani McDonald, and that's going to solve it. And it's like, wait, the same things happened. So I really, again, I don't know what's going on, but it's been a huge regression. And it makes this Arkansas game, I mean, they have a good offense. This is not a gimme game at all. So just something that I'm kind of speechless about.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't know if I can identify it. There's clearly communication breakdowns in that secondary. On one of those touchdowns, Jalen Gilbo, and I'm not bashing Jalen Gilbo, is lined up in the middle of the field, and he's the cornerback on the side of the field where the touchdown happened. He is out leveraged like before the ball is even snapped. That was like the easiest route, easiest throw and catch you will ever see in a live football game. And I noticed watching last night, I just feel like the Texas coordinators are making things way too complicated on their players. And then you flip that and you watch Georgia last night. It was just, there was nothing complicated about any of it. You got these secondary guys trying to do way too many different things. If they're having to like have conversations with each other every time somebody moves, it's too complicated. And that's what teams are going to do the rest of this year. They're going to line up in one formation. They're going to move around, and you'll see our secondary just start having a conversation. And and nobody looks like they have a clue.
You're right.
Where anybody should be. It's too much. And I know, like, offensively, Sark wants to run a pro-style offense, and those are very complicated offenses. To me, it looks like PK wants to do the same with his defense. He's and maybe they feel like they have to. I don't know. And it's been like, I mean, this is not a new thing to me for PK. These guys just are not communicating, and it looks a lot like 2023 to me in the secondary, where they were a little bit of a liability. We were really good that year. We made a college football playoff, but that secondary was a liability in that playoff run, and they were a liability down the stretch as a whole. And it's just because they're miscommunicating, just completely blown coverages. And even when they're where they should be, it's. I mean, they're playing 15 yards off the ball on like 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
So my number 2 thought is just I kind of already said it, but Kirby Smart and his staff just put an absolute clinic together last night on just how to go win a football game in the SEC. You run the football downhill. You take advantage of soft coverage. Like Mike Bobo had to be sitting up in the press box last night just laughing, just like completely giddy at how easy these throws were. And I said on the show Wednesday, I like Gunnar Stockton. I think he's a good player. They made him look like the best player. They made him look like Tom Brady last night because they don't cover anybody. They cover space. But that's not how football works. All the people have to do is run to where you're not at. And it's an easy pitch and catch. I don't know, man. It's crazy to me that they brought in a dime package late in that game, and they're still like 15 yards off the ball. It's just it's too easy.
Right.
And again, I don't know why they try to make it so complicated. Georgia certainly didn't on either side of the ball. They played tight coverage. They got pressure, and we made it easier on them by just completely abandoning the run. Basically, after the first drive, we handed the ball off 10 times to running backs last night. 6 of those were in the very first drive, and they went for 33 yards on those 6 carries, 5.5 yards per carry. Why in the world would you not do that?
Yeah.
Why would that not be your focal point on the road in an SEC game? If you can do it, do it.
Yeah. And we got 33 yards on the first drive, and we somehow ended the game with only 23 net running yards.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, I mean, sacks,
but like even with the running backs and everything, like
they only got 4 more carries.
Yeah, just abysmal
as a team. So yeah, I mean, it point being, like, if you don't run the football, you cannot win these types of games. We've seen it against Georgia 3 times. We've seen it against Ohio State 2 times. Just in the last 2 years, you completely abandon the running game and you lose. It's going to happen every time until Steve Sarkisian gets it through his head. I need to run the football in these types of games. And that's all Kirby Smart and staff do consistently. They show up, they run the ball downhill. They're not trying to trick you. They line up under center. They put the running back behind him. They turn around and they hand it off to him going forward. And then if you're going to play soft coverage, okay, we'll just throw a bunch of curl routes underneath you and make yards after catch. Oh, you're not going to run the ball? Okay, well, we're just going to come after your quarterback, and we're going to tighten up our coverage and make it really hard to put the ball places. That's all they did. There is not a personnel problem, and you alluded to this earlier. There is not a personnel problem on this Texas team. I don't think. I still say that roster is just as good as the Georgia roster, top to bottom, 100%. like talent wise. Now,
Right.
execution wise, maybe not. But the other thought is maybe you're putting too much on them. Maybe let's simplify this a little bit and just play football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that, Kirby Smart reminds me of is Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. They both are really good, and all of their players talk about this. That at the beginning of the week, they'd say, these are the keys to the game, like our little 3 keys, these are the 3 keys. And every player knew their exact role. And they always specifically said, don't do anything beyond your role. Just do what you control, And so they all knew what they were doing. Like they would simplify it so that the message was so clear to each player and what their designated task was. And of course, they bought into it because over time they'd see, oh, hey, coach is right about what these, keys are. And Tom Brady talked about it a lot too. Like when he would do his one-on-one meetings with Bill Belichick, and they'd be going over, what they think the defense would do to each other. They would then have, okay, here's what you're going to do in these exact situations, Tom. For me, what I worry about with, our quarterbacks is, do they have time to get that sort of a one-on-one meeting with Coach Sark, because he is the head coach and he is the number one guy over personnel. And he also has other obligations too, right? He's got a newborn baby. So is Arch getting that clear one-on-one time with the head coach of like, here's your keys, here's what you should be looking for? I think that I do have to give some credit to the quarterback coach because we have seen that growth from Arch. But to me, it just seems like they still make the game, like you were talking about, so complicated for our quarterbacks. And this goes back to Quinn Ewers last year, it's just such a crazy strategy that then it's like they don't really know what to do in certain situations, or maybe they could audible out of something, but it's like, this look isn't something we talked about, So it just, to me, is so clear that the game plan is not simplified enough for the players for them to each know their exact defined task. Whereas on the other side, I mean, it's so clear what they all have to do. You rarely see a Georgia player, out of position. They all just know their task. And of course, like, they're not going to win every play, but 9 times out of 10, they will. They're never going to get beat because the players didn't know what to do. You might get them a few times, like Wingo's catch. It was just a great catch in the end zone, but like, the rest of the time, they just are always going to know what they are doing. And also kind of another indictment on our offensive game plan. The only points or the only touchdown we got was off of an amazing interception by Ant Hill. We didn't have a drive where we just went, boom, all the way, drove the field, get a touchdown. We had the field goal first drive of the game, but we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with the penalty because there was communication issues. They didn't know what they were doing. Like, we got too fancy with it, So it's just, I agree with you. Like, our players are good. They're just not being put in a good position to execute.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that goes back to your comment about Arch and just it kind of being disappointing. It's kind of disappointing that this team, and again, I'm not an expert. I'm only saying what I believe. I think it's very talented. I think the coaching staff is very talented. I think the players are very talented. They just have not. They've wasted a season. I mean, they've wasted an opportunity to make it to a playoff 3 straight years and continue on, with the momentum of recruiting and all those things. I'm not saying recruiting's dead because you're 9-3. If Texas goes 9-3, or if they go 8-4, I'm not saying it's dead. But it's a lot different than, we made the playoffs for the 3rd straight time. We're the only team that's done that. So huge missed opportunity. And I do think it's just simply, it's an ego thing. Like they want it to be a certain way, but and I get that, but at some point, like, you have to realize they're just not getting, they're not getting it 10 games into the season. Like it's not going to be got. Do something different. Let these guys just be athletes. Like you recruited all these athletes, right? You went across the country and picked out the guys that you thought were the best athletes in the country. but you bring them in and then you like bombard them with concept this, concept that. It's too much. Just let them play football.
Right.
All right, we're through 4 keys. Jump in the chat. Let us know what you guys think about the game last night. Key number 3 for you, or not key. I said keys. I keep saying key.
Whatever. We're just we're stream of conscious right now. We're just letting it out. You know, I thought something that was really interesting in the pregame coverage, I think on game day, or actually I think it was on Fox's channel because it was Urban Meyer was, you know, interviewing Coach Sark from his hotel room. And Sark made a little quippy comment of, oh yeah, we're scoring more points now. The play caller must be doing a good job. You just can't say a cheeky comment like that and then only put up 10 points. Like, I'm sorry. I'm here for, yes, we did have improvement, but man, it's just not a good look. And it rubbed me the wrong way when he said it, because I know he did not like hearing the criticism and getting asked, you know, have you ever thought of getting an offensive play caller? To me, it's not about the fact that he's not good at calling plays. I think he is good at calling plays. It's the fact that details are getting missed because you have to be so focused on the game plan and calling the plays. And your players clearly don't know what the game plan is because you're spending too much time making it that you can't then deliver the message to them, you know?
Yeah, there has to be a guy that, and maybe he feels like he has that. Like, we don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on at practice and in meetings and things like that. But there has to be a guy that's just there, and he's just roaming. Like, I used to love seeing the videos of Nick Saban. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. He would just walk around from position group to position group during practice and just start coaching people. You know, while another guy's in a drill, he's standing back there with the rest of the group, just coaching them. And you're right. If Steve Sarkisian is only standing there with the offense and only got his head buried in that play sheet he's got, he's not doing all those things. And to me, we've talked about this, but going back to that conversation where he said, I got hired to be the head coach at Texas because I'm a good play caller. That's not why you got hired to be the head coach at Texas. You got hired to be the head coach at Texas because you have coached under a lot of really good coaches. You've been successful at those types of OC roles, clearly. But that's not why they hired you. They hired you to be the head coach. We can go get somebody else to call plays. You could go get somebody else to call plays. That ain't it. That's not why you got hired. You got hired to recruit. You got hired to be a head coach. You got hired to be the face of the Texas Longhorn football program. And I think he does a lot of those things really well. He obviously recruits well. He seems to be involved and likable in somewhat of a similar manner that Mac Brown was when he was here. And Mac Brown was he's definitely handled being the head coach at Texas much better than anybody has since Mac Brown. I'll just put it like that.
For sure.
He can handle that sort of monster of being the Texas head coach. But again, like, you got to get it done. And we're not seeing that. And we're seeing it go backwards a little bit. And that doesn't mean it can't go back to what it was last year, next year. You know, that's not how it works. It's not necessarily the plane is in dive mode, but it is frustrating. And it's kind of, you know, as a fan, going back to your point, hearing those guys say things like that, I hate it. Because to me, the head coach at the University of Texas should be above all of that. He should be able to take people criticizing or asking questions about, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? He should be confident enough in himself that he doesn't get defensive about those things. And so, you know, to see him make those kind of comments and things, it really makes me think like he's really feeling all of this pressure, right? And and again, if he's feeling pressure, the players are feeling pressure. If the players are feeling pressure, they're not performing probably to the best level they can. And so I think, you know, looking back, I didn't write this down as a thought, but I'll throw this out here as a thought number 6 for us today. I think this team just has not handled all of the preseason sort of pressure expectations that were put on them very well. I think, and I think that, again, I think that starts at the top. That's your head man. So yeah, I mean, they haven't handled that well, and it's showed up very plainly and terribly obviously and painfully obviously that they just haven't done a great job with that mental side of it. And so yeah, I mean, what are you going to say? 7-3, 2 games left. What's your fourth thought, Michelle?
Man, I think I agree with you about the pressure thing. And I think what's so disappointing, I don't even know if I've already said this. So again, stream of consciousness right now. I just don't know how they so misevaluated everything, because Sark even talked about this as a championship caliber defense at SEC Media Days. They didn't do anything to stop the hype train on us being number one team, right? Like they didn't come out and be like, whoa, guys, we're one of the youngest teams in the SEC. We've lost 22 players to they were like, yeah, this is what we expect. So to me, it's just, wow, like how are they blindsided? And, I'm in all of the forums, and every single forum after the Florida game was saying that, and these are the reporters, right? Not the crazy fans like me who are commenting. All of the reporters from every single site was saying that the coaching staff and the people inside the building were blindsided by the Florida game. And to me, I'm like, how can they all be caught with their pants down? And it's like the same thing happened again yesterday. And I feel like I just wish I could see more growth across the board. I can handle a loss to Georgia. Heck, I can even handle a 10-point, 14-point loss. I mean, it was an abomination in the fourth quarter. That's what I just can't really stand. And it just irks me that there has been no progress made across the board. And like you said, a lost season. And I hate saying that as a fan. I hate being so negative, but I hate it for the seniors that came back. Michael Kraft, TJ Campbell, these guys came back thinking this is going to be a championship caliber team. Now, maybe we go to the Cheez-It Bowl, maybe. I don't know. Are we going to have enough players to even play in the bowl game? Are we going to have to opt out because we're going to have so many guys leave? Who knows?
Yeah. Joe says Cheez-It Bowl. Okay. If we do Arkansas, man.
I guess it's a Cheez-It Bowl then we go. But yeah, it's just, I can't believe that, the people inside the building so misread.
Yeah, I think, and I've kind of talked about this before, like as with regards to the running game, I just think, and again, I think this is another sort of bullet point that Sark should be like considering as he, I really do feel like, and I hope that this offseason he'll step back and say, I really need to reevaluate this. Like, am I missing things because I'm too busy doing these other things? He should do that. And they should do that every single year. That's just part of like self-growth and all those things. We should all be doing that in our professions for sure. Stepping back and saying, hey, is there some things I could be doing better? Am I spending too much time here? But I've talked about it, how I feel like between him and Kyle Flood, there's just something not clicking in the run game in terms of what they want to do and if they need to have, what their identity is. I think the same could be happening from a player personnel perspective. College football has gotten so big now that they're hiring all these guys to come in and for the, for lack of better, and I think they actually have a guy that's a GM. He's actually the general manager.
He's good.
But is there some sort, and they've got guys, right? There's all these analysts coming in and like, is it too much? Like, I just feel like sometimes it's easy to, I don't know that there's the sounding board they need. Like, are people raising the red flag and saying, man, we got a problem here and someone's not listening? Is it too complicated within the building? Is communication not effectively flowing? There's just a million things that run through my mind when I think about like, how did we get to this point? Because again, I think the players are really good.
Me too.
I don't think there's a lot of guys that are playing on this football team I don't think there's a lot of guys that aren't actually playing on this football team that are not good athletes, you know, not if put in good positions can excel, you know.
Right.
And so it's really crazy to just see them just be so meh at times. And you know, and we've seen the good parts of it. We've seen them look really, really good and go, man, now that's what we expected. But then there's always this regression, or there's times during games where they just look like they don't know what the hell is going on. And people are you like someone said on Twitter, like Sark didn't get out coached or something crazy. Like, no, he got out coached. He got 1000% out coached last night.
Yeah.
Whole coaching staff got out coached. Again, it was a clinic on, hey, here's how you go win an SEC game, dude. And you can put the film on of any team. Go watch that Oklahoma game. They went into Tuscaloosa and probably did the same damn thing. They didn't make it complicated. Let's line up and play football.
Yeah.
Let's play tight coverage and pick some balls off. And they did that too.
I'm actually glad you brought up Oklahoma, because that is something, I've kind of resigned to the fact that Sark, he's not going to give up play calling. But I think there are other things he can take off his plate. Like, for example, how Brent Venables is the defensive play caller, but he is no say in personnel. That is 100% on Nagy, who is their GM. Brandon Harris is a good GM. You know, I've heard whispers that he is one of the people who was like, hey, we should go get more offensive linemen in the portal. We should look at XYZ. But, if other people are saying, no, I think we're good, who are maybe a little too close to, like, we all love our players, right? And it's like, oh, well, I want this guy to get his opportunity, So I think if you were to truly give your general manager the power to, like, be the guy doing his job, that would free up a lot of things too, and also kind of like let him, it could be like a good cop, bad cop dynamic, let him be the one who has to handle those difficult conversations so that you can just focus on getting your players ready. Like, I think, and again, I'm not a coach. I've never played football. These are all just how I think things go. So I could be totally off base here, but I just think there are other things that Sark can take off of his plate. I love that he takes so much ownership and wants to have the final say on everything. I get that's his natural inclination, but the reality is even Nick Saban delegated and handed off, and he handed off to people he could trust. I think Sark just needs to find, either just needs to trust, his GM. And if that's not Brandon Harris, okay, find a GM that you will actually trust then, because I think that could also relieve him of a lot of things as well, in terms of like a self-scouting and player evaluation and things like that. Maybe instead of having to do all of the recruiting, he's just kind of the guy who comes in at the last minute and gets the deal done, like so many other coaches and things like that. So
that's what Mac Brown used to do. Mac Brown used to sit in the office and they would come in and talk to him and they'd freaking commit on the spot.
Yep.
So yeah, I 100% agree with that take, Michelle. If you're not going to let these guys do their job, what the hell is the point in having them? Why are we paying him? If you're going to override, and I'm not saying he is, but if that's the case, that player personnel decisions are getting overridden, or people are not listening to what the personnel guy is saying about what the roster looks like and what we need, then why are you paying him?
Right.
And that is, to me, that's Sark's biggest thing. He will not delegate. I mean, just think about Nick Saban is probably the best example over the last couple of decades of a guy that's been the head coach and has had so many different coordinators. It's like unbelievable how successful Nick Saban was with guys that he had to go out almost every single year, every other year for sure, and find a new coordinator because they were all going being the head coaches' places. And so like the Nick Saban coaching tree is ridiculous, but he would just go out and find another guy and they would be successful. So and it's because he didn't get himself all caught up in all you just can't. You were spread too thin. You just can't do that. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's not you need to give up play calling, Sark, or you should give up play calling. Maybe it's, you know what, I'm going to let this guy do his job. And I'm just going to trust that he's going to do his job because I can't be involved in everything. And that's fair. That's like, I have people under me at work, and I can't be in their business all day long because I won't be able to do my job. So yeah, that's a good point, Michelle. I don't have a clue which thought we're on at this point, but again, I think it's my turn.
We're just letting it fly.
Yeah, I think it's my turn though. So I don't even know what I'm going to say. No, I think like we're talking playoffs. There's been a lot of talk about 9-3 Texas getting. I think that's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
I was super bearish on the 9-3 Texas team getting into the playoff anyway. But now I think taking an ass whipping like that, it's over. Like Texas could win the next 2 games. I think they're certainly capable. They are not a playoff team. They should not be a playoff team. And a lot of fans are going to not like that, and that's okay. I don't like it. I don't like saying it.
Right.
If they made the playoffs at 9-3, I'll root for them at 9-3.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I don't think we're looking at this Texas team and seeing the same type of situation that we saw last year with Ohio State, where they kind of struggled down the stretch. They got beat by a really not good Michigan team. And then they just turned it on in the play. Like I don't think there's a turn on. I don't think there's a switch for this team.
There's not. Yeah.
Like there probably was for that Ohio State team. So, but yeah, sorry Texas fans. Sorry for myself. I don't think 9-3. I mean, maybe if we beat Texas A&M like 70-0 or something, maybe everybody would be like, oh, never mind. They're really good. I just don't see it.
I don't either. You know, something that we haven't even touched on in terms of the coaching mismatch is special teams. I mean,
Jeff Banks.
It was bad. And you know what sucks is they faked us out last year. I know it was an onside kick. It was, I think, either a fake punt or a fake field goal. I can't remember which. But, I mean, they got us last year. And then Sark said all week, oh, yeah, we're prepared for this. We're prepared for that. We were not prepared for it. Our players were like, wait, what? You know, and it's like, I just don't understand how you can let that happen. And what was so funny was I was watching the game with my husband and I kept saying, watch for the fake, watch for, before every, like I was dialed in. I was like, watch for it. I was on like edge. And so then, of course, when it happens, I'm like, how can I be on my couch and like anticipating these things? And, it's still, of course, like, it still catches you off guard, right? Even if you're telling your husband, like me on the couch, watch for it, it still catches you a little off guard. But it's like, man, how have you let that happen against the same opponent 2 games in a row? Like, they're going to do it. And they did it because they knew, like, Arch Manning, he was playing a good game. They said, we don't want to get the ball in his hands. Let's control it. We know we can best them. It's like Kirby just knew we're going to get it because they're not going to be prepared for it. Like, he just knows he has that much of a coaching edge in all 3 phases that he's like, yeah, so what? We got it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a 21-10 point or 21-10 game at that point, I believe.
Yeah.
So, like, if you don't get it, and which, by the way, like, onside kick is a very, very low percentage win for the kicking team. It's almost impossible to get an onside kick, provided you're paying any kind of attention at all.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, like, what are we doing? Like, that was one of the things I wrote down last night after the game was Jeff Banks had a terrible game terrible job last night. And maybe he coached his ass off all week and maybe the players just were looped out. I don't know.
Maybe.
But the whole like kicking it to the 10-yard line shit on kickoffs, I do not understand that. I don't know why you want anybody returning a kick at all. It is like insane to me that a coach would tell a kicker, hey man, I know you can kick it out of the back of the end zone, but let's kick it to the 10 because we might tackle them before the 25. But you're sending players running down the field full blast. Like, that is one of the most injury prone plays in football is kickoffs and kickoff returns.
Yeah.
I just It makes no sense to me. I would love for someone out there that's like an expert in this to make this make sense for me. I'm not closed off that it makes sense, but I can't figure out how it makes. Even if you do get them inside the 25, it ain't gonna be like a bunch. Like you're not fooling anybody. They're gonna catch the ball. It's just like, why take the risk of letting somebody get a big play? And they got a big return in that game.
Yeah, it just sucks. And are you talking about kickoffs like Mason Shipley kickoff duty, or are you talking about punts specifically?
I'm talking about kickoffs.
Okay, yeah. So for kickoffs, I don't know that Mason Shipley can kick it through the end zone, because remember, Will Stone went into the portal and he was our kickoff guy.
I don't know. Mason Shipley kicked a 60-yard field goal or something like that at Sam Houston or wherever it was he was at.
Hasn't done it here. He has not
done anything 100%.
Over 50. And I like him. I like him, by the way. I think he's really good. I'm just not sure on kickoff specifically. I don't know that he has the leg to do that. At least
somebody on that team can kick the ball out of the back of the end zone. I guarantee it. Somebody on that team can do it.
Well, I haven't seen it from him.
Well, I don't think it's an inability thing. I think it's that's like a strategy thing by Jeff Banks. I'm going to kick it short. I'm going to make you field it, and then I'm going to try to get you tackled inside the 20. In other words, I don't want to give you a free line at the 20. I don't want you to have the ball free at the 25. I want you to have to get to the 25. Yeah. Which again, even if you're stopping him, if you're kicking it to the 10-yard line, he's going to get to the 20 most likely with no problem at all.
Yeah.
What are you gaining? A couple yards? Is that going to make a huge difference on the whole? I don't think so. I haven't seen it. So, so Jeff Banks, and again, I'm not dogging on, like, his unit was not good last night. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
They got a big return, but there was a penalty. I didn't see the penalty, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I don't know. I'm not even going to talk about the refereeing because that game was such an ass whooping that I don't think any of that matters anyway. Yeah. So let's talk. I think we've exhausted our thoughts. They're not good thoughts. Not a lot of. I'll say one last thing, and I kind of alluded to this after the Florida game, and I said Steve Sarkisian's going to have to make some tough decisions this offseason about coaches, about like his role with the team, probably about some players. Like I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I'll say this, and this is probably going to piss everybody off, and I don't really care. If he doesn't change something, Steve Sarkisian is never winning a national title as the head coach at Texas. He may go off and do it somewhere else. He won't do it here in the SEC if he does not step back and like critically evaluate himself and what he's doing, what his coaches are doing. He just does like all of the opposite things that you have to do to just win those types of games. And if you can't win those types of games, you're not winning a national championship. And it's clear he cannot win those types of games today, right now. The last 5 times we've played that type of game, we've lost. And we've got our asses kicked 2 of them. And his unit has been not good in any of them. So,
yeah, I think
proof's in the pudding to me, and it just ain't there. And I'm not calling for Steve Sarkisian to be fired. I saw Nash post a poll this morning. Should we fire? I'm not saying we should, but there's a lot of people talking about it. Should we fire Sark? No, we should absolutely not fire Sark. But I think Sark again has got some soul searching to do.
Right.
And he's going to end up like firing himself, if he doesn't like make some changes, because clearly what we're doing is not working.
Right. I agree. And I think on Orange Bloods this week, one of their YouTube live shows, they talked specifically about, Sark's record, and we talked about it, or you mentioned it too, he was 1-6 against top 10 or top 5 teams, now 1-7. And a lot of people were talking about his stats just in general as a head coach, because a lot of the numbers are a little bit damning against any ranked opponent. Mm-hmm. And people were getting very triggered by it. Like, oh, well, there's no nuance to it. He played here or XYZ, Washington, blah, blah, blah. And the numbers are the numbers. Like, just because you don't like them, and maybe there is a bit of nuance to them, but like the stats are the stats. The reality is Brent Venables is 2-0 against Kalen DeBoer. Sark is 0-2. I think Coach Sark is a much better coach than Brent Venables, but these are the stats, 0-2 against DeBoer, 0-2 against Ryan Day, 0-3 against Kirby Smart. And instead of closing the gap, like, I think that would be
widening.
A reasonable expectation, right? Is that, okay, well, we made progress against these teams. We're not even close. And I think that is what is so frustrating. So I am still in on Sark. I was very critical of him and his staff, but I think that, with high expectations, I think I'm allowed to be a little bit critical because, we really did not meet the bar. The floor for this team should have been like 12th seed in the playoffs, and we're not even going to hit that.
Yeah, no, I agree. The roster, no excuse for this team not to make the playoff. And they're probably, I mean, again, crazy shit happens. I don't know. There's still 2 weeks left, and then the championship games. But I just don't feel like there's any way in hell Texas gets in. I'm going to throw this one up here. We got a Bulldog in here. They say it would have been a 4-point game if Texas had not let the fourth quarter get away from them. Absolutely. But hey, that fourth quarter is part of the game.
It is.
But we appreciate the shout out, Sugar Bulldogs. Thanks for joining and listening to us today.
Yeah. Hey, Sean, did you see on Twitter how Brooks Austin gave me a shout out?
I didn't.
So I had made, of course I made some hype videos, and I really like Brooks' show. They're kind of a smaller creator. So instead of pulling, clips from like ESPN or of them, picking against us, I was like, oh, I'll use Brooks' show because I love his show. And so I was kind of cheeky. And of course I added him on it, and he had liked the post and everything. And it was just their predictions that, of course, Texas would lose and lose by a lot. And so, of course, after the game, he quotes tweets and is like, oof. And so Georgia fans were giving me hell. Yeah. But I'm like, I got to take it on the chin. And so I was talking like, I know, we sucked. And I tried, I was happy that Brooks privately messaged me. And I told him, I was like, hey, I hope you know, like, I'm a huge fan of y'all's show. And he was like, oh, it's all good. It's all love for me calling you out too. So it was all good. But I've been getting hell for the past, 12 hours from Georgia fans just because of my little hype video. And I'm like,
well,
give me a break, y'all.
Yeah, if you're going to put yourself out on the socials, that's going to happen from time to time.
We got a few. On the chin.
That's right. We got a few minutes left. Let's talk looking ahead for this team.
Yeah.
I think the big question right now is, how does this team respond down the stretch? You've got a game against an Arkansas team that is a old-fashioned Southwestern Conference rivalry. I know Arkansas fans hate them some Texas. I think Texas fans hate them some Arkansas. What I don't think we have between these two teams is that same type of feeling. Like, these kids today didn't see the old Southwest Conference rivalry. All they've ever known, most of them probably don't even know that Arkansas and Texas used to be in the same conference. So
yeah,
I wonder, outside of just being SEC quote unquote rivals, like, how hard is it going to be for this team to get up for that game? And to me, it's a dangerous Arkansas team because they're offensively pretty damn good.
Really good.
And man, the defense has struggled at times the last couple of weeks, or last couple of games. So yeah, what are your thoughts on like this team heading into the final two games? Getting up for A&M should not be a problem, but again, can they execute? Can we keep it? Can we just do some things that you have to do to win an SEC football game? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts is this is going to be one of the toughest weeks for Coach Sark because he's going to be getting a lot of heat in his pressers, and I know he doesn't like that. I mean, who likes to be getting questioned about the job
Right.
he's doing? And how do you get the message across to your players that we can still make the playoffs when, like, you just got your doors beat in, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard. He talks a lot about culture. I really hope that it is on display this week. It's going to be really tough, though. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a really slow start. Maybe we can end up beating Arkansas, because I think we do have the much talented roster. And one thing I'll give Sark is when he has the talent edge, he's pretty good at, like, sometimes it might not be pretty, like with the Kentucky game, but like
right.
he can get it done, you know? So I do think that we would still win even if we started slow, but I just think it's going to be really tough to get these guys to get up for this game after such a emotional letdown. And just knowing your season is probably not going to go the way you thought it would.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that. I think this is like to me, if you're a Texas Longhorn football player and you're on this coaching staff, this is like one of those kind of line in the sand moments to me where, yeah, you're not going to get what you want probably this year, but you also can't do that thing where you fly off the cliff. And the next two games, to me, potentially could be those off the cliff type of moments where like your season just derailed and just completely plummets to earth. That lose that Arkansas game, and I think you're not beating Texas A&M, and not because they can't. I just think you lose two in a row, and one of them's to Arkansas, and then you got to play Texas A&M, who is going to be undefeated coming in. I don't know. So to me, it's a pivotal moment for this team, for this program, for 2025 that they come out ready to play against Arkansas, because if they don't, it could get ugly quick. Yeah. So yeah, we're all disappointed. Don't make it more disappointing is kind of my thing. Like they should, at this point, it's kind of just like, I'm pissed. Let's go beat the hell out of somebody. That's kind of like the attitude that I think this team needs to adopt, and Sark needs to adopt. Like, let's just, all the goals are gone. You're not making it to the SEC championship game. You're probably not making it to the playoff. And I say probably because there's probably some stupid mathematical way that they can get into the playoff at this point.
Some crazy scenario.
Yeah, some crazy scenario thing. But yeah, now it's all pride. So show the pride. Come out and don't let a Georgia loss beat you twice. Mac Brown used to always say that. Don't let one loss beat you twice, and I agree with that 1,000%. We'll see if he can do it. I think that's the measure of a coach too. Does he really have the culture he thinks he does? We're going to find out on Saturday, and I'll be talking about it Wednesday. Michelle, I hope you can join me Wednesday night at 7. We'll talk Arkansas. Check Michelle out over there on Twitter at Michelle Lynn with 3 N's 94. It's been scrolling across the bottom, so you guys can check it out there. Good follow. She does lots of videos and gets beat up by Georgia fans for making hype videos. Yeah. Again, we'll be back Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. Thank you, all of you folks out there that are watching, participating with us. I really appreciate it. It's fun to see y'all's comments. But that's it. We'll be gone. Let's put this Georgia one to bed. Let's go beat Piggy next weekend, I guess. We'll see you Wednesday night. Y'all get hooked.
Hook 'em.